Hello, I'm John David Bruja on location in front of Cape George Lighthouse in Nova Scotia. And welcome to a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner, United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island Tour. Well, when we first started this trip, I thought 80 lighthouses was going to be an impossible task. But now, after we entered day 15, we pretty much blew 80 lighthouses out of the water and now are heading toward 90 and probably going to even pass that. And as you can see, Mother Nature is going to fight us all today as we have rainfall warnings until 9 o'clock tonight. But does that stop us? No. We're at our first lighthouse of the day, the Burnt Coat Head Lighthouse, first established in 1859 with the current replica behind me built in 1995. Well, unfortunately, this area has some of the world's highest tides, reaching as high as 55 feet, causing major erosion. So unfortunately, it affected Burnt Coat Head Lighthouse, and it had to be torn down in 1913 because of that. After 1913, a new wooden dwelling was built further east, but unfortunately that light was burned down by the Department of Transport. Well, with many years without a lighthouse, the local community got together and found the original 1913 plans and decided to build this replica. And luckily for us, the first two lighthouses we get to climb all the way up to the lantern room. And you can see in Burnt Coat Head Lighthouse, you get some stunning views of cliffs behind us. Well, we did make our way further down to the shore, and you can see the cliffs in the backdrop. And of course, according to the water's height, you can tell we're not at high tide right now, or we wouldn't be standing here. That's not until later today. Well, we reached our next lighthouse. This is Walton Harbor Lighthouse. First built in 1872 at a height of 20 feet. And ironically, the builder, Timothy Parker, became also the first lighthouse keeper at Walton Harbor Lighthouse. The Walton Harbor Lighthouse received a 4th order Fresnel lens in 1915, automated in 1970, and extinguished in 1986. And after much restoration, the light and the area turned into an interpretation center, along with picnic tables and a nature trail. And like the previous lighthouse, Walton Harbor Lighthouse is another one. We get to go inside and all the way up to the lantern room. Yes, that's right. We made it up to another lantern room. This one, Walton Harbor Lighthouse. And like all the others, even despite the rain, you still get an excellent view. Well, we are at our next lighthouse, and it's another replica, Horton Bluff Lighthouse. Ray Miles went to the Coast Guard in 2006 and received the plans from the second Horton Bluff Lighthouse and started construction. He completed most of it by 2012. And thanks to the generosity of the owner, he not only allowed us onto the property, but inside and all the way up to the tower, while explaining how he obtained the plans and constructed this replica lighthouse. Well, we had to jump a cement block and walk through a field, but we made it to Horton Bluff Front Range Lighthouse, which was first established in 1851, the current one, 1961, at a height of 29 feet. Well, we made it to our next lighthouse, the Hampton Lighthouse. First built in 1911 at a height of 33 feet. When first built, a kerosene lamp had to be lit each night and extinguished every morning. The light went to electricity in the 40s, and it still has the original 6th order Fresnel lens. The Hampton Lighthouse was the second light to be passed to a community nonprofit association in Canada. And as an added surprise, no, I'm not talking about the ice cream, we get to go inside and all the way up to the lantern room. Automated in 1973, it is still operational today. Well, we've come to the last lighthouse of the day. I don't know why I'm so sad. We've seen 6 of them and we've been able to beat Mother Nature. We are standing in front of Annapolis Lighthouse. First built in 1889 at a height of 28 feet. It is built on the old government house, which unfortunately burnt down. And it's still functioning today. Like all other Nova Scotia lights, Annapolis is also automated. It is another pepper shaker style tower, white, with a red lantern room. This lighthouse shines 90 miles away from the halfway point between North Pole and the equator. Well, the fog has lifted, the rain has stopped, and the sun is trying to come out, so that can only mean another day with more lighthouses on a United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island tour. First up, Gilbert's Cove Lighthouse. First built in 1904 at a height of 38 feet. It was automated in 1965, and this will be one of a couple lighthouses we'll be able to climb up to the lantern room. Gilbert's Cove Lighthouse was named after Colonel Thomas Gilbert. The light in the lantern room was discontinued in 1975 and replaced by an automated beacon. After the death of Louise Balinson, a former lighthouse keeper who started in 1950, the lighthouse was boarded up. In 1982, after years of neglect and vandalism, the Gilbert's Cove District Historical Society took over the lighthouse. In 2003, a sizable donation was made for improvements against tidal erosion and help on the interior of the lighthouse, just in time for its 100th anniversary in 2004. Well, I made it up to the lantern room, and I'm standing in front of the 7th order Fresnel lens. And of course, it's another gorgeous view up on top of Gilbert's Cove Lighthouse. Well, we made it to our next lighthouse, Cape St. Mary Lighthouse. First built in 1868, the current one behind me was built in 1969 at a height of 28 feet. The first Cape St. Mary Lighthouse was a wooden octagonal tower which served as a coast light, and it guided ships into St. Mary's Bay. The current light is a square tower built into the corner of a one-story building in 1969. It was fully automated in 1989. In 2017, Municipality of Clare took ownership of the property and developed a little park around it. Well, we made a bonus stop before Cape Fortune Lighthouse. It's Bunker Island Lighthouse in the distance. First lit in 1874, the current light was built in 1959 at a height of 30 feet and was automated in 1984. Located in Yarmouth Harbor, Nova Scotia, Bunker Island Lighthouse is also nicknamed Bug Light by the locals. That's right, we are at Cape Fortune, the tallest lighthouse in Nova Scotia. At a height of 77 feet, it was first built in 1840, the current one standing behind me in 1962. It is the only apple core shaped tower open for climbing in Canada. The tower was on an island surrounded by Yarmouth Harbor, Bay of Fundy, and the Atlantic Ocean until the causeway came to the island. A fog bell arrived in 1857. A fog whistle for fogs and snowstorms arrived in 1869. It received a second order Fresnel lens and Cape Fortune needed to be replaced after 123 years of service, the original one. And that is the current one you see behind me that replaced it. The last of the keepers left in 1993, making Cape Fortune the last to be staffed in Nova Scotia. That's right, 77 steps later, I made it all the way up to Cape Fortune Lighthouse. The only problem is, I got 77 steps to go back down. And after finally coming back down from the lantern room in Cape Fortune, we drove by Foggy, the Cape Fortune whale. The 50-foot humpback whale was donated after the carcass was found in 2006 on an island off Woods Harbor, Nova Scotia. Well, this was a nice surprise. Our last lighthouse of the day, Seal Island Lighthouse. It's a replica, but we got a chance to go all the way up to the lantern room and outside for a spectacular view. Built in 1985 at a height of 35 feet. It is a replica of the top half of the original Seal Island Lighthouse, the cast iron lantern with the Fresnel lens. It was removed in 1978 and placed on top of the replica and opened to the public of July of 1985. And despite the mosquitoes attacking us, we still get a chance to climb all the way up to the lantern room and outside for a spectacular view. I want to thank our bus driver, Jim Rogers, getting us safely from lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse. You get the picture. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm John David Bruja, standing in front of Peggy's Cove Lighthouse in Nova Scotia, Canada. This has been a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner, United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Tour. I hope you enjoyed the ride.